Hi, it's Sarah Reynolds, your favorite Progressive Patriot. Welcome to day 3 of a year in the life of the Progressive Patriot. It is June 3rd, 2014, and we're again going to talk about Snowden, Ellsberg, and we're going to touch base on the ACLU today as well, because tomorrow is Reset the Net Day, and the ACLU is sponsoring and promoting that day. I'm very disappointed, and I will get to that in just a moment. Okay, so we know that Snowden was interviewed by Brian Williams last week, and Daniel Ellsberg watched that, so did Secretary of State John Kerry, and John Kerry just fired off. Okay, Snowden is a treasonous traitor, he's betrayed his country. If he were a real patriot like Daniel Ellsberg, he would come home and he would face the music in a court of law, in the American courts, just like Daniel Ellsberg. And then Daniel Ellsberg fired back, actually, he would not get any more of a fair trial than I did. So this is what happened, and I'm going to tweet the link to the article in The Guardian that Daniel Ellsberg wrote in reaction to Secretary Kerry's statements, because it's really great to just see into his mind and heart, his memory of that day so long ago, as fresh as ever. Just really a great article. So he recounts what actually happened once he got into the courts. And Ellsberg, of course, was also charged under the Espionage Act in the same way that Snowden has been charged under the Espionage Act. So in the courtroom, the defense attorney says to Ellsberg, "Why did you do what you did? Why did you release the Pentagon Papers? Explain why." So Ellsberg is about to open his mouth. He says in the article he'd memorized all of his best lines to deliver under oath because he wanted them to be delivered under oath in integrity and explain, this is why I did what I did, and it was so important. So, right off the bat, the government prosecutor cuts him off, objects, and says it's not relevant, and the judge agreed. He sustained the objection and said it's not relevant. Then the defense attorney says to the judge, "Well, I've never heard of a case where the defendant couldn't explain why they did what they did." And the judge says, "Well, you're hearing one now." Really? We think our Supreme Court is corrupt. This is unbelievable. I didn't know about this moment in history, verbatim, word for word, exactly what happened that day as it went down. If I'm repeating myself for people who lived through it, I apologize, but whoa, my mouth just dropped. I didn't know that is exactly what went down during the trial. So Daniel Ellsberg pointed out that neither would Snowden be able to actually explain to a jury why he did what he did. In fact, unlike Ellsberg, he most likely would not even be able to get out on bail. And the whole time that Daniel Ellsberg was on bail, being accused before the trial, leading up to the trial, he was out and about and speaking to the media and talking about the Vietnam War and why it was unjust and should not be happening and based in a lie. So Snowden doesn't even have these opportunities. So, and wouldn't if he came here. So Ellsberg's point is that the only way whistleblowers now are able to explain why they did what they did is from another country. It is devastating. Okay, so we're just going to stick to the facts. And so the ACLU is saying, let's have a reset the net day. Let's start encrypting. Let's start protecting our data and our information from the government. Okay, really? Or we could get the Patriot Act repealed, because that was what the ACLU used to be very concerned about and focused on. They have a huge network of supporters, myself included. I got an email from Anthony Romero today saying, sign the pledge that you're ready to start encrypting and using these tools to protect yourself from government surveillance. And I'm thinking to myself, what about those petitions I signed to repeal the Patriot Act? And remember when you used to send one out basically once a month when Bush was president, and now all of a sudden that is not the tune? And also the other thing about the ACLU is now they're all about the Freedom Act, the USA Freedom Act, which just modifies Section 215 of the Patriot Act. No. The whole Patriot Act, the entire Patriot Act, we got to repeal that. That is on the table. That day is on the table. When it will be repealed, we the people must demand that it be repealed. Not parts of it, the whole thing. I don't know what happened with the ACLU. I'm not sure why that's not a priority. So the really fascinating thing here is that Ellsberg is looking at Snowden, seeing himself and Kerry either delusional or deliberately being a tool of the state and being disingenuous, as Ellsberg says. And we will touch base more on this issue in future episodes, and tomorrow we're going to talk about Gitmo, and we're going to talk a little bit more about Bo Bergdahl. Okay, talk to you soon, and thanks so much for tuning in.